Hey guys, Ollie here from Hungry Wolf Studio. Today you're listening to the Modern Craftsman, and we are talking all things architectural concrete, how I established my business and what I'm doing in the industry.
So we're gonna talk about concrete today, man. I hope you're cool with that.
You look like you do concrete. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, sounds good.
Dude, so I came across your channel. I'm not even sure. Like I feel like a long time ago. And then you kind of resurfaced when you started promoting this, that you're teaching what you're doing, which I want to get into. But I want to start the podcast off talking about your pink shorts because you posted.
I got a treat for you today.
Are you wearing them? Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Look at those. What are those? Are those 5-inch inseam?
He slept in them.
That's they're dolphins with sunglasses on.
So I mean, your page came up, and all of a sudden, this camera angle comes over, and you're just like, you look like you're just enjoying life, and you're wearing swimsuit, like swim shorts, like and tool and concrete. Yeah. So I gotta give you props on that, but. How did you get into concrete?
I got into concrete when I was actually working at a supermarket, and a lady came up to me and said, "Do you like your job?" And I said, "No, I don't like it at all." And she said, "Do you want to come and work with my husband?
Do you want to wear these shorts every day?"
They came a lot later on. And I said, "Yeah, sure. No worries. What is it?" And it was doing concrete. So I said, "When do I start?" She said the next day, and the rest was sort of history. You know, I got stuck into concreting, doing house slabs, working like a dog. Really, it was hard work, but it was.
What were you doing before that?
I just finished high school.
What were you doing before concrete?
So okay.
I
was just at school. Yeah. So sorry, this was just after I finished high school.
So was she grocery shopping and just happened to spot you out of the corner of her eye and be like, "Hey, that guy looks like he could help my husband"?
See, I told you he looks like he's a concrete guy.
It was a bit of a spin out, really, but that's and the funny thing too was, you know, one of the comments that he made to me was, "Now that you're in gumboots, you'll never get out of them," as if to say I'll never leave the concrete industry. And I sort of just laughed it off. You know, I was like, "Man, I'm only doing this for the summer holidays, then I'll get serious again." But he was right. He was 100% right. You know, it's been 20 years now. So.
Wow. And how long were you in like the grunt work of slab work to now you're in a whole nother caliber of work right now?
Yeah, I sort of did slabs for probably, it'd be close to like 12 or 13 years through various stages. Some of them were like in the outskirts of town, you know, all these new estates that we're going in. We have these things here. I'm not too sure if you have them. They're called waffle pods. They're basically like a styrofoam jigsaw puzzle that then concrete goes over the top of. And that's how they do a lot of the house slabs here. It's quick, it's easy. And yeah, I was just doing that and driving miles every day to get to and from work. And then from there, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to move into the city, into Melbourne, and then moved up there and joined a company that was doing sort of high-end residential work. And then that sort of led into basements and that sort of thing. And then from there, it was doing high rise. So, you know, we were pouring 1,000 square meters a day. I mean, I don't know how many square feet that is, but it was pretty big. And then I was just burning out. I was in my early 20s and I'm like, I can't sustain this. This is killing me. The long hours and the grueling work, like even if it was pouring rain or, you know, 40 degrees outside. So yeah, I just wanted to make a switch and then started doing my own company, but pretty soon found myself in the same boat. just with staffing, it was hard. And then again, just having to work through the grueling weather all the time. It's pretty unforgiving here in Melbourne a lot of the time. And then I just started renovating houses. So we bought a house and I just wanted to put heaps of concrete stuff in there, and no one was really doing it at the time. So yeah, I was doing like barbecue bench tops and benches on top of the TV. I was making concrete sinks, fireplace areas, and yeah, it was really cool. And all my friends and family were loving it. And then it sort of, when you start putting that stuff on social media, it started to get a bit of traction. And then, yeah, it's never stopped from there, really.
I feel like the concrete's pretty prevalent in construction in Australia, right? Like it's a big, like in the US or at least in the Northeast, we use a lot of concrete for foundation, but that's it.
Yep.
We're not going much higher than that. We're using it for the slabs and the foundation work. In high rise in Boston, it's very hybrid because of the union. So there's a lot of concrete cores but steel structure. New York and some other big cities, they in like DC, for example, like I see a lot more full concrete construction where it's concrete in the ground and all the way up, but that's more in the commercial side. But in residential, it's not, you're not seeing it as much. And I follow a lot of the stuff down in Australia. It's, I'm a lover of the architecture down there, and it's concrete everything. And Melbourne, I feel like is flooded, at least from what I'm seeing from social, right? Like that might be 1% of what Melbourne has to offer, but I'm seeing, like McKim, for example, they use concrete throughout, their homes and their buildings. Like it's very relevant in residential. Is that an accurate statement?
It definitely is. It's definitely more the high end residential. That's where you'll see it. It's using those concrete elements. Take McKim, for example. I was one of 4 different concrete crews that they used. So I was the guy doing the really high end finish stuff, the bench tops, sinks and all that sort of stuff. But then they'd have other guys who were specially there to do the big off-form walls. They had other guys specially there to do slabs. Because concrete's it's one of those things, it can just be a blob of stuff that comes out the back of a truck, or you can shape it into something really, really amazing. And given the right amount of time, you can apply a finish that will, be, pretty incredible, pretty smooth and polished. So they just got the right guys in to do the right things for them. And a lot of people are now doing that down there when it comes to, the high end homes that are getting built in Melbourne and around Australia.
Concrete work reminds me a ton of finishing, where you're like dealing with different batching and chemicals and admixtures. And I think that somebody can tell you how to do it, but until you do it yourself, you don't understand. Like it doesn't really the knowledge doesn't translate the same way that it were if somebody's like, well, if you're going to build this out of studs, you cut that. Like it's one of those things that you have to do and feel and understand, like at what point you can start finishing it. And the pain in the ass part of that is that the stakes are so high, because if you trash it, it's such a pain in the ass to get out. It's like heavy, the weather, I have so much respect for concrete guys and good concrete guys. It's just one of those things that I feel like you could do for a lifetime and continue to learn little things about it.
100%. Yeah, I'm learning a lot. Every job I do is completely different. There's a new way of having to tackle it, in terms of even just your formwork itself, how to brace it, how to stop it from blowing out with the amount of pressure of the concrete going in and things like that. It's always a new challenge, and every job now I'm finding there's a lot of curves that are getting thrown in there. It was pretty square, bold, when I first started up, but now it's there's not too many jobs that don't have big radius curves and things like that in it, which like you guys know, it takes a hell of a lot more formwork and timber and time to build a radius or a circle than it does to build a square when it comes to timber.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the good and bad thing about concrete. I think that you are like there's a constant evolution there, and you could never sit back and kind of rest on your laurels because then it's going to bite you in the ass. But at the same time, like, aren't you ever thinking to yourself, like, I just want to do like a slab and not have to worry about it and know it's going to get covered, and like you're never giving yourself any sort of an opportunity to just like relax some on the job.
No, that is one thing that when I when I do, it's funny you say that actually because I'm working on our new course at the moment. We'll talk about it a bit later, I'm sure, but it's I've got to just do some stuff, just some basic concrete that's going to get tiled, and I'm really looking forward to doing that because I can just slap it in and then I can have a cold beer and I don't have to worry about it.
That's the side, like Tyler said, the risk is huge, especially with like decorative concrete. And I think about all the things that can go wrong. Like as you're talking, I'm thinking about I'm watching like your videos and how you're polishing and you're tooling the concrete when it's still green. And if I were to form a staircase tomorrow and I wanted to peel the formwork off while it's still green and like make sure that the edges were nice and smooth, I would have zero idea on how long from the time I place the concrete to when I can pull that form off. And I would have to Google it. And I would rely on the fact that Google is right and hope that when I peel it off the thing doesn't slump, right? But on top of that, like that, it's like finishing, Tyler. It's all the prep, right? It's all the sanding, it's all the prep,
All the
and
prep.
then you're putting that final coat on. And for you, it's the same, or for concrete, it's the same thing. It's all the foam work. It's all of the reinforcing, like making sure the reinforcing isn't pressed up against the side. So when you pull the form work off, you get
Oh
rebar
yeah.
sticking out that ends up rusting and then blowing the concrete apart in a year. And
Yep.
it is such a high risk, and to see it done in a way that's more decorative, and like you said, I mean, the stuff is just getting super complex. And what the hell is that house called? But Joe at is it me? I'm gonna pull it up. The architect, I was just looking at it yesterday. Joe Adsit Architects, and they just had done that. I think the local project shared it, but it was the which house was it? Of course, I can't. Um,
Is that your phone or mine?
it,
Because
it's
I'm
it's
watching his
no,
videos
it's
right
my
now, and
it's
I'm
my
like,
phone.
I thought I had my phone on silent.
It's mine. I
This
was
stuff.
making sure I got it right. So Joe Adsit Architects is in Australia, and they did this cliffhanger house. And I was watching the video the other day, and it's all concrete, and it's cantilevered like freaking crazy, and it's all curved, and it's all smooth, and so the, further relating it to finish, like finish, if you screw it up, you just let it dry, you sand it, and you put another coat on it. If that
Yep.
concrete cures and you peel the formwork off and it's wrong, like you really, I mean, yeah, you can put a micro cement on it, but that ruins the whole point.
Oh,
It's
no
like,
one
no,
wants
you're
to do
you're
that
either
unless they choose to do it. Yeah.
right, and it's like I see, and this is why I'm so enamored by what you guys do down there, and and Tyler's right in saying like good concrete guys. It's like when you meet a good concrete guy, it's like okay, like I gotta hold on to them, and, like do whatever they need, like because it is there's so much work that goes into it.
Yeah, you've got to have there's I'm a bit of a control freak in a way, but it served me well in business because it is something that I'll make sure I'm giving 100%. I'm pretty hard to get a hold of generally in terms of getting work because there's just so much coming in all the time. But when I say that I'm going to be there and do that job, 100% of my time and focus is dedicated to your job and making
Mm.
sure it's done to the best possible standards that I can do. And then, yeah, it's sort of served me well that way, because people do get it, once it's done. And a lot of the times as well, they'll just see some finished stuff on Instagram, but once they see the formwork that goes into building stuff, and the labor that goes into, shaping these things up, all for it just to disappear. Like, all that formwork goes. It's not, you're doing it all just to basically hold a shape, and then you get rid of it. So yeah, when they see that what it takes to create that shape, they get it, and it's they really do appreciate it. So I'm pretty lucky that way, that a lot of my clients get to see, because we're building it in their house. We're creating furniture in their house. It's another cool element to my job as well. It's not many other people that can do that.
This podcast is brought to you by Duration Molding and Millwork. So,
did you see their
yes,
latest post?
I was going to say, if you're looking for some large, beefy architectural brackets that you can paint dark, have them look like wood and be structural, and you're not into ongoing maintenance either, well, Duration Molding and Millwork has got that. If you go over to their Instagram, Duration Molding and Millwork, they posted these brackets. We've been talking about these before. Now you get to see the inside of these custom brackets and how they're supported with steel, which makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
But I just want to commend whoever they're working with for the fabricator. That's some good looking metal.
Yeah.
Nice TIG welds, nice and clean, and it all gets buried up into that poly ash. But you can see how they get super close to that edge of that bracket, but you would never know that there's steel in there. The nice thing is, when you do order these brackets, they also come with poly ash plugs to conceal the fastener heads. So it's one and done. You order them from them, and they are custom made to your spec, shipped out to you, ready to support some weight.
If you're looking at that picture, it almost, I could be wrong here, but it almost looks like they have like a plastic band slipped under it, because it's fit so well into that bracket that they wouldn't be able to pull it out.
Right.
To help lift it back out. It's such a good fit that there's nowhere in, you could lift the right side but not the left side, so they have a little strap in there to be able to lift it out and not damage the finished bracket itself.
Nice.
That's a tight fit.
Yeah, nice observation.
Thanks.
You guys want to learn more? DurationMillwork.com, and make sure you check them out on Instagram. This podcast is also brought to you by Rockwool, high-performance, fire-resistant, soundproof stone wool insulation for your interior and exterior walls. We last week we talked about the fact that they are the only one certified by Cal Fire for fire resistance, which is super interesting. We are, Tyler's in New Jersey, I'm in Boston, so the fires are much, well, basically non-existent where we are.
Yeah.
But California and the West Coast, they're dealing with it, and it's interesting. This product is, as you've talked about last week, you see it, you can put the flame on it, there's nothing to it, it doesn't get damaged, it doesn't ignite. But after we talked about it last week, I was thinking about how serious of a problem that they're actually solving here, where these homes are in fact burning down, and here's a product that could literally extend, if not completely protect the home from ever being damaged in a fire.
Yeah, especially as we move more towards exterior insulation, obviously.
Right. And that, I think that's going to be an interesting development, especially in the building code. And I know the building code doesn't apply to every market, but it'll be interesting to see just the residential market move towards an exterior insulation in a more common place. Because, at least around us, every commercial building that goes up has insulation on the outside.
Yeah.
Every single commercial building. And it's, and I feel like, it's going to be a much more common practice in residential. And like I said, I think it'll be interesting to see how that unfold in the next 5 years. But if you guys want help detailing that stuff, whether it is exterior insulation or just cavity insulation, make sure you join their R-Class program. You can head over to rockwool.com/rclass and join that premium partnership program.
Dude, watching your videos just gives me anxiety. It's very soothing and satisfying because you're good at it, but I'm putting myself in your position and I'm like, oh, I'd be freaking out right now.
I'd be like, the concrete's like it would harden too fast for me. Like
Yeah, it's
I'd have to put some sort of retarder in it to slow it down so I could miss like I know it's I mean I have no idea. I've never even tried it, but it's like that's what frightens me. It's like the speed in which it cures.
Yeah, look, and the thing is now, I've moved up from Melbourne. I'm in northern New South Wales now, so basically up near Queensland, and it is a lot warmer,
Mm,
and concrete does dry a lot quicker. But thankfully, there are additives and things you can do with concrete to help slow it down, and even just shade, just putting up a tarp or a tent,
mm.
just creating shade gives you so much extra time. If it's sitting in full sun getting baked, yeah, it dries really quick. But creating a little bit of shade, it just gives you a little something extra up your sleeve.
It's like the couple of little slabs I've done or footings for a deck, porch or something. When I'm pushing it, getting close to winter, and it's not curing fast enough. I'm like, I might as well. I figured I'd be, cleaning up around 4 o'clock, and the concrete's still not curing. And I'm like, I'm just gonna go grab dinner and come back at like 7 because I'm still waiting on this right now. I I
Yeah.
have not had much luck with concrete, to be honest. It's very hard to be self-taught.
It is, and
So
that's no, it is definitely hard to. You can't really teach yourself. The thing is with what I did have concrete knowledge before starting up what I was doing, and I did start in baby steps. I wasn't doing huge intricate bits of formwork when I first started. I was figuring
mm,
it out on the way, and luckily a lot of it was for either friends or it was my own place, and I could let them know that, hey, look, this may happen, this could happen. And then yeah, it was easy for me to then start doing that work, because I was, yeah, just being able to do it without having the pressure of a high end client or someone like that. People were pretty forgiving with me and letting me do my thing, and having a go, and then learning from that, and then implementing it in the next one. And that's basically just how it goes. You learn from every job and just implement it on your next ones.
are
So
you
when
go ahead, Tom?
when you said that you were basically doing this on your own house, you wanted to dump, I believe you said, heaps of concrete into it. Was that because you're like, hey, this is my one main skill set, or were you intentionally trying to kind of push the bounds at that point?
I think it was a little bit of both. My clients were high end, either architects or builders. I was doing this stuff for them in those homes, but I was also doing it for myself. And we weren't in those sort of areas that I was doing those awesome bits of concrete for. It wasn't really something that was seen down where I was living. So when it came time to sell the house, it just went like that because someone just went, "Oh my God, what the hell? Look at this," and yeah, it blew people away because so many people just hadn't even seen stuff like that before. So it was, yeah, it was pretty rewarding that way, and that's what I got hooked
I
on. I got
keep
hooked on the satisfaction.
What's coming to mind right now is every now and then I remember even when we were looking at houses and you're like, this dude must have been a mason and he's just got brick everything in his house. It's like some old Italian dude. It's like that definitely like your TV shouldn't be housed in brick right now, but it's just like, hey, he knows what he's doing with brick, so everything's going to be brick.
I like that.
Well,
That's
I
good.
interrupted you earlier, Nick.
So, when you look back at obviously your career and when you got into concrete, you talk about you had concrete knowledge, you get into it, you start sharing it with friends. Are you at a point now where you're strictly only doing decorative concrete?
Yes. Yeah, I am. And most people know that too. I don't get the phone calls about slabs and
Sure.
things like that anymore.
Yeah.
It is, yeah, it's one of those things where it's becoming very popular here. Like
Right.
there's not too many homes getting built, high-end homes that don't have it, because we're just in that element. I'm only a minute or so from the beach, and salt water just destroys everything pretty much. But when you've got concrete and it's outside, it's furniture or it's a barbecue bench or something, that concrete is going to last a hell of a lot longer than anything else that you can sort of put down there. So we are finding it getting used quite often now.
So when you made a comment earlier about how you're hard to get in touch with, which I know because it took me a while to get you on the podcast.
No, because you've always got concrete carrying.
True.
It's like, when am I going to pick up the phone?
Yeah, it's like, but you also said that when you're on the job, you're 100% dedicated to that job, which means that you are involved. Like, obviously we see you online, like doing the actual work. And my understanding is that you're out there, you're actually performing the work. So my question is that your goal, to be hands-on, involved in the process? And part B of that is, what is your team, like what's your team look like now?
So the thing is, we've just moved. So we've been here a couple of months now. The focus has been my courses, and my upcoming one is a barbecue bench course. It's going to teach you everything you need to know about how to build a barbecue bench out of concrete. But it's my team's small now. I've got a couple of guys who I've taught, so they've done one of my courses. And now they're just like, oh man, whenever anything comes up, just let me know and I'll come and work with you, because I just want to learn more as well. So yeah, I definitely am on the tools. I love it. It's part of the reason why I'm doing it is I really enjoy it. I enjoy the mental part of it as well as the physical part. It is super rewarding, but I think so many people now, I mean, my face is just plastered all over my Instagram. They expect to see me there, which I'm cool with as well. So eventually I'll probably try and scale back a little bit as I'm teaching more and more. But I'll always still love it. I'll always still do it.
Well, I think that goes to, that's what I want to talk about from the course perspective. It's, a lot of times we talk on this podcast about people that are in business and want to scale their business and kind of step away and run a business. And that's not there's no right or wrong there. Like, Tyler is very much hands-on, and I've taken myself off the tools and focused on building a business. And there's two paths there. And as I saw you start promoting this course, I'm like, oh, this is really smart. This is an opportunity where he gets to stay on the tools. And rather than trying to scale into a massive business, he's creating the opportunity to create a bigger business in the sense of education, where it's like you put in the investment of putting these courses together, and then you're passively making money from that, but it's also opening, and then it's also flipping and opening opportunities for more work. Is that 100%. Like, do I have?
Yeah. Bingo. It's the big thing is as well is I tried scaling this business. I tried making Hungry Wolf Studio a lot bigger. I had 2 crews running, and I had a really good name. I still have a really good name in business, but there was some things that weren't getting done right, and the reflection of that hits me quite bad, because I'm such a perfectionist, and little mistakes, even with concrete, it's like you can just have a step that just falls backwards rather than fall out to let the rain come off. And you've got yourself a puddle there, which fails compliance. And then, it's getting ripped out. And, we just had a couple of those little things going on that we just had to go back and rectify. And no one's paying me for that. My boys were still getting paid. And, so I found that quite hard. So scaling it back and just having me look over everything, I just want to do the best job possible for my clients. So that's what I'm teaching as well. I'm teaching these guys to, you've really got to, if this is where you want to go, you get one chance at concrete, and it's a painful process to be ripping it out. You don't want to be doing it. So,
No, I mean,
Been there.
got the t-shirt.
Oh man.
I've seen it. I have not personally been there.
Yeah,
Um, Especially in commercial. I mean, I remember actually. I feel like I told this story recently. Did we talk about concrete heavily in a recent
We
episode?
talked about over designing it for high rise recently.
I remember. So maybe I told this story before, but when I was before I started my business, I was in high rise and I was an assistant project manager, and we built this 30-story building, and we had a concrete core, and I was basically overseeing the inspector coming out, making sure that like the concrete tested. We basically did these 7-day lifts. So we would place the concrete on floor 4, and by 7 days later, we were formed and placing floor 5. So it was very fast. It's basic.
Yep.
Place it, strip it, move it, and it was a self-climbing core. What the hell was it called? Forming system. It was crazy. It was like the wildest thing I've ever seen. And I remember being in it when it moved up. Point being is that we were up on like floor 18, and they stripped the forms. The inspector comes out. They're about to lift, like climb up another level, and the inspector says, "Nope, concrete didn't test." And we're like, "What?"
Oh.
They're like, "It's way under strength." And I was like, I don't like. I'm not prepped for this. Like, what do I do? Like, they're looking at me like, "What do you want us to do?" I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like I'm a kid. Like, I'm calling my superiors and like, "Hey, the concrete didn't test. It's under strength. Like, what do we do?" They're like, "Oh, just give it another day." I'm like, "So what do you want those guys to do? Like, they're here to like
Grab
move
a
the form."
broom.
Right. And I forget exactly how long it ended up, but I remember the inspector coming back out, and he took this thing out of his pocket, and it looked like a nail set. And he took it, and it sprung against the concrete, and he moved it, and it left this little dimple. And he goes, "All right, you guys are all set. You can climb." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "We're good. It's coming up in strength." I'm like, that little thing. You just like put a little dimple in the side of the wall. And I don't know why I'm telling this story, but it's just like I remember. Oh, because we were talking about ripping it out, and I just remember like being like, "Holy shit! Like, are we gonna have to chip this whole level off and start over?" And the amount of rebar in it was like number 8, 4 inches on center, like 16-inch thick, like what, like crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's the
And
worst part when it comes to ripping it out. It's the
is
steel
the
that's holding it
rebar? Yeah,
together. Yeah,
yeah. If
yeah,
there's no rebar, it'd be fine. It was,
easy.
yeah, yeah. But oh gosh. So, but going back to the course, right? Like that's what's super interesting to me, because not only are you giving yourself a revenue opportunity to create a course that you can sell, and but you're also teaching, and you're teaching people that you've already alluded to the fact that you're teaching guys that work with you. So not
Yes.
only are you getting revenue, but you're also training people that can be in the pool when you do say tomorrow you get a giant job. You can reach into the pool of people that have taken your course and know that they have a general understanding of what you need done.
Yeah, that's right. It's good. It's another thing too. Like, part of the course is we've got a Facebook group called the Wolf Pack, and basically you get access to that. Every single person who's got the course has got access to that, and you can share your ideas. You can, because there's all different skill levels. There's people who have no idea about concrete that have done this course, and then there is concreters who want to do what I did and make that switch. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all different levels and all helping each other out with different things, and especially because it is around the world. It's, where do I get these products in America? Where do I get these products in Canada? Where do I get them in South Africa? It's interesting for me to see too, and how it's done. So I think everyone's getting a bit out of that group as well.
How did you go down the rabbit hole of creating a course? Like what provoked you to do that?
Basically, it was something I wanted to do because there was no one who could do it for me. I had to self-teach myself. I was self-taught
Mm-hmm.
in this little niche market of concrete. There's no one that is teaching it. And if I wanted to, say, go to a TAFE or somewhere like that to learn it, there's no one teaching it. So I thought, we had COVID, obviously. We all know we suffered it pretty bad in Melbourne. We were the most locked down city in the world. So for 2 years, and there was some points where I couldn't even go to work. So it was the perfect time for me to focus on creating this course that I was, I've always wanted to do, but never had the time. Always been quite busy. So it was great. And my wife Kylie was a real pusher in that as well. She's like, nah, now's the perfect time. If you don't do it now, you probably won't ever do it. So yeah, we just got a team together and made it happen. And it was definitely one of the better business moves that I've done for sure. And just seeing the feedback from it, it's been incredible. It really is good. And knowing that there are guys out there now that were in my position that are, sort of, seeing the light almost of, getting themselves out of that rut that they were in with their concrete business and finding a new passion within it. So
when did you start doing this kind of online course?
it would have been nearly 2 years ago. Oh, sorry, the course.
Okay.
No, it'd be only a year ago we launched it. We started working on it about 2 years ago, but it's only sort of been out in the last year.
And you have multiple courses and lessons out there?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is work on, there'll be some bigger courses and then some smaller courses as well, just like little things, just like if you wanted to learn finishing or even just timing on stripping formwork or any of those little bits and pieces, to paint a full picture of all different elements in the industry.
So, all right. So let's hypothetically say I'm just starting out as a contractor. I have a small concrete job to do. Like, where would you send me to go start looking into this on your page?
It's more, I think, not so much doing your flat work or whatever. It's more set up for doing something like
Architectural.
Architectural concrete. Yeah. So I think our key, the few things that we do a lot of, it's barbecue bench tops. It's the floating stairs. They're definitely by far the most popular because there's not too many homes where you couldn't put something like that in. Pool surrounds are another big one as well. There's so many people now with aged pools, pools that were poured in the 70s and 80s, and they just want to revamp them. They love the look of that Palm Springs sort of minimalist look of just concrete. So that's a big one too. Lots of pool surrounds here, and then it's going to be seating and outdoor seating and things like that. So there's a few more to come. But yeah, if you wanted to get started, everything's there to get you started. It is for the beginner and it is for someone who's got some skill. So that was the real thing, is trying to make sure anyone can do it. But it's just, you want to just do small amounts to start with, not big amounts.
So I'm on your website now, and then I've kind of gone into shop now, and I see the course suite, and the idea is to kind of fill this with more courses as you go and have time to kind of document this. And is the idea to always continually kind of hosting this through yourself, through your own website? Like, how are you getting the word out for all of this stuff? Just through social right now?
It is, yeah. A lot of it is just through social media. My dad was in advertising, and he always said to me, the best form of advertising is word of mouth. There are so many people that are doing the course, then having a conversation with another person, and they're like, oh man, yeah, awesome. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Go check it out, look. And then all of a sudden we've got another person who's doing it too. So it's really good for people who are renovating their homes. They want to put high-end finishes in without the high-end price tag that comes with it. It might not be as perfect as say getting someone like myself in to do it, but you're still getting the basic element of it. And that's the good thing with concrete. It can look just as good when it's a bit raw and rough as when it's refined and polished. So.
And are you funding all of this coursework yourself?
Yes. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
That's crazy because I'm like looking at this and this is the type of stuff where normally somebody partners with you or you have a vendor come to you and they want to do a project like this. And like props to you for taking on, like this is a big undertaking. Yeah,
it is. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's ended up being a hell of a lot more work than what I thought. And a hell of a lot more.
Like with your normal job and 3 kids?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's taken up a lot of time. You don't realize how long that takes, and just getting, the right bits and pieces, getting the content right, going, oh crap, we missed a bit. We've got to film another bit or whatever. But again, we're learning every time as well. So I think the courses will get better and better. I'm really looking forward to shooting our next one. It's in a couple of weeks, and I really think that this one will be awesome.
Forgive us for like digging into this so much, but I think the reason I'm so interested in talking about this course is because of what I said in the beginning, is that it gives you the opportunity to remain hands-on and involved, but also but supplement your income on the back end by creating essentially a digital product that you create once. So yeah, I mean, there's no doubt, like I know the amount of work that goes into video and editing, and to then take that to a level where someone could follow step by step along with a process and make sure that you don't go from like A to G and you're not skipping steps. Like they need to understand step by step to create that value for it. And that's why it's so interesting. And I don't know how comfortable you are sharing like as far as like the numbers or behind the scenes, but even vaguely, like how many people have signed up for this course?
We're in the hundreds, so it's and it's more the fact that it's where they've signed up from is what's blowing me away. It's how far. That's the beauty of the internet, I guess. It's everywhere.
We've
got like Egypt, Scotland, like Dublin, New Zealand, just even places in Australia, like some really remote places of Australia, like in Tasmania and things like that. It's really cool.
Well, after this podcast, I'm sure you'll have a bunch from the US, which will be great.
Bring it
including possibly myself.
I mean, right? If you have this,
I like watching that.
But if you had this type of job coming up, and it's like, yeah, this is a high-end concrete job. Obviously, you have to have the chops to kind of consider tackling this. But I'd be like, yo, I'm just putting the price of that on this job, and like, if I get it.
So the floating stairs, which is your course. That was, we shared that in an architect meeting. It was like, hey, they had drawn it. I was like, yep, we're gonna watch this course. We're gonna figure it out. Like, there's because people were like, we don't know how to do that, and I'm like, don't worry, I know there's a course that exists, and it was probably I want to say it was like a year ago. But that's like for me, it's like, yeah, I want to watch it. Will I ever do it? I have no idea. But it's just interesting to see the process, and that's what I like about from your socials, that you're sharing all the snippets, which I'm sure are part of the course, but it's not like you're not getting the technical the technical details. You're getting all the
No,
quick
and it's one thing to watch it. It's another thing to be physically there doing,
right.
troweling it and doing it. You know, it's like I look at surfers and go, man, you guys make it look so easy. I get on a surfboard and I'm just like, I'm wiped out. How do they do it? I don't know. But it's, the one thing with filming the course I remember was me having to slow down. Like normally I just know what I'm doing. So I just get my tools out, set up, go and just start building this thing. But having to stop and talk about every individual process while I was doing it, I was blown away by, just how much there is involved with the way that I form things up. It's become second nature to me now, but just the systems that go into place that work time after time. It was hard to just slow down, and that's what used to just drive me insane with the filming. It was like, I could build this thing in like 2 hours. Why is it taking 8 hours? Just because we were going through every process with it to make sure we captured everything, so nothing was left out.
And you said you have a team that you basically put together a team to do this. What is that team? Who is that team made up of?
So we've got a videographer, and then we've also got our socials team as well. So my wife's heavily involved in that as well. She often just comes out to site. She'll film a lot of stuff, take a lot of photos, and then that gets sent over to our social team, and then they sort of get the trending music or whatever and put all that together. And then before I've even finished work, there's already a reel there just blowing up. So it's pretty funny. It's cool. It's a process that I didn't think I'd ever be involved with, really, but social media has become a big part of our business, as you guys are aware. It's but it is one of those things that I think you need to be serious about it. I never took it seriously, but if you want to grow your business online, it's paramount.
The people don't realize how difficult it is to get and stand in front of a camera, for one thing, and perform at that point, like especially when you're so used to doing what you do on a daily basis. But then a lot of people also, like, they're not teachers. They don't understand how to take what's going on with their hands and their body and in their head and then articulate that to their students or to the crowd or whoever that may be. So I know that's like a big adjustment for a lot of people, where all of a sudden they're like, okay, we understand that's what you're doing, but like, why are you doing it? Explain it. And then it's like, they can't do two things at once, or they can't explain why, or they can't articulate why. And it's like, well, what are we going to do here? Are we going to film this? Are we going to like edit this after we film it? It's not as easy as it looks.
No, it's definitely not. It's something that I've always struggled with, to be honest. I was never big on public speaking or anything like that, but I am finding it easier and easier.
Yeah, I think the more that you do it, the easier it gets. But it's not like you got into the industry to get on camera or to teach.
Hell no.
So then looking to kind of navigate, navigating to that. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and it's definitely not for everyone. But again, like, props to you for going and doing that, and supporting your business, supporting your family. And I also think that it's providing an outlet for people. Even just showing your finishing online is showing people, okay, like, I'm on the right path. And it's not as good as learning in person, but sometimes it does better than just telling somebody what to do.
Oh, that's right. Even if you can just spark someone to go, oh, I'm going to give that a go. Oh my God, that looks awesome. I'm going to try that. That's what I'd love to see.
So a question I have for you, and it's doesn't necessarily demand a very specific answer, but I am also, when you're doing concrete work, the whole point of concrete work is it's going to last a long time. And how long does it take you to learn how to apply the finishes to work with the concrete, that you're ensuring that you're getting the results that you want. And I kind of equate it to tattooing, where it's like, I feel like you have to tattoo for a certain amount of time to be able to see your work roll back around to see how it's healing, because everyone's concrete, or not everyone, but a lot of people's concrete's going to look good a year down the road, 2 years down the road, but like this stuff should last a lot longer than that. So it's like you have to be in business 10, 20 years to see your work holding up the way that it's kind of intended to. Did you ever look at your job like that? Like that, hey, it's not something that's going to get pulled out in 5 years.
No, that's exactly right. And you wouldn't want to be the person pulling it out anyway, Even this one of the seats that we've just done, it's 20 tons of concrete. I don't know what that equates to with you guys, but
sink?
No, a big seat. A big outdoor seat.
I was like, Jesus.
So, that's equivalent to, three full concrete trucks. And you don't want to be pulling that out. So the sealers that we use are really good. We've teamed up with Guard Industries, and they're 10-year guarantees on these sealers. They work really, really well. And you know what? If you don't like it in 10 years, tile it. It's one of those things. It will still look amazing. And the other thing with concrete too is you can grind it down. If you can go bring it back to life like a piece of timber that's been stained, you can sand that off and apply a new stain, a different color. And it's the same with the concrete. You can just grind it down and have the aggregate showing and things like that, and have it look brand new again.
Who the heck wants to do that? That's worse than hardwood floor finishing. Just out there just grinding concrete. Yeah, that sounds terrible. Let's all mask up and sit out here and grind some concrete down.
Oh, yeah.
His course on refinishing concrete is going to be like, find someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, when it comes to grind, and that's the other thing. I learned to outsource stuff like that pretty quickly. If someone wanted that finish, bang, go to these guys. They've got the gear to do it. That was the other thing. Yeah, you don't want to be grinding concrete every day, especially the stuff we do, because it's by hand. It's all right if it's a floor. You got nice big machines. They run off remote controls nowadays, but you can
crazy.
never
back and forth.
Yeah, no,
so
it's not for me.
How are you you're putting all of these new techniques, new to you, maybe not new to the concrete world, but into place, and always kind of pushing yourself outside of the envelope. What are you doing to kind of teach yourself to move ahead with the stakes being so high with concrete?
Ooh, haven't really thought about that too much.
You had the house that you got to try things on your own, but then is it just that, like on a job, you're like, all right, I'll figure this out?
Yeah, look, it's another thing too. I mean, we've bought another fixer-upper, so we'll be implementing a lot of concrete stuff in there as well. So it's one of those things that I think I'll just evolve my formwork skill set and things like that to, it's just elevating every time, just getting a little bit more refined. I found my finishing now is so much better than what it was when I first started. It's crazy actually how hard it used to be for me to finish the concrete by hand, and now with the systems that I've got and stuff, it's a lot easier than it was. That's for sure. So
yeah, I think that
I
the
just
more
want to
that
keep. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Like you said, I do want to keep pushing it. I don't know how, but I'll figure that out, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I mean, with finishing concrete, I'm sure it's very similar to a lot of things where it is such a struggle for so long, and then you understand it. But then I think that the biggest change for me is that even when you're trying new things, or even when something starts to turn or bite you a little bit, you have the experience to get it back on track and kind of recover, where it's like, all right, I've seen this before. This is what I have to do. But when you're first starting out, you're like, why the fuck is this happening right now? Like, I've never seen this happen before. And like,
Oh, yeah.
you go down this rabbit hole of why is this happening? How did it happen? How do I prevent this from happening before? How's this going to look in 5 years? And then it's like, oh, down the road, I see that often. It's because this happened. I think that with any type of finishing, it's that experience that kind of makes your finishing a lot better.
Yeah, big time. And a lot of the times I'll pull the formwork off the concrete, a big chunk will stick to the formwork. Like, oh man. But it's because you've done it so many times, you can fix it pretty quickly. If it was someone doing that for the first time, they'd just be like, they'd fall to a puddle, I reckon, and find it very hard to pick themselves out of it.
So you said you have kids, right?
Yeah, yep.
How old are
3 kids. I've got Ava, who's 9, Chloe, who's 8, and Max is 2.
Oh, the boy.
Yeah.
So what would you allow your kids to get into the concrete trade?
They've had a dabble. I know I was even walking the kids to school the other day, and there's a piece of fresh sidewalk there that has Chloe and Ava written in it. And I'm like, man, they've already started. It's just one of those things. Like, you see fresh concrete, all you want to do is write your name in it, but you're just giving yourself away at the same time.
Right.
But I found that quite funny. They were pretty happy to show me that they'd done that. But yeah, definitely, it's one of those things. There's more and more females in the industry now as well, which I find fantastic, and it'd be awesome to see. My girls in the construction industry for sure. It's booming. It's a great job, and I'd be more than happy to see them in there. And then with little Max as well, it's like, well, yeah, sure, why not? It's one of those things. There's nothing bad about the industry, I don't think. I think in Australia, tradies are regarded quite well. I know in the UK and stuff, there's just big blue collar, white collar sort of thing going on. But in Australia, tradies are regarded as good professional people. So it's yeah,
it's the opposite here in the US. It's very much blue collar, white collar, and it's just 2 days ago we were at an event and I overheard this guy. I was gonna say what the business he owns, but he might listen to this podcast, so I'm not going to. And he was talking about how his business changed so much. And he was actually talking to my brother, and my brother was like, oh, why? He goes, well, there was a bunch of guys that moved up into the white collar world, and then you had the guys that kind of moved down into the blue collar. And I heard him, and my wife looked at me and she goes, what? I'm like, I fucking hate that guy. And she's like, why? I'm like, okay, well, maybe not him, but like, why is it down into the blue collar? And she was like, Nick. I'm like, no, yeah. I know maybe he didn't mean it that way, but the problem is it's said that way, and then we this is like the mentality around, like, that's the direction that they moved is downward. And it's the same, like when I was in Switzerland, like the trades were regarded well. They were paid well. Yeah. They were considered, like, there was no colored collar. It was just everyone had a collar on. It wasn't white versus blue. It was just like, yeah, that's what you do for work. That's awesome.
It wasn't pink shorts, that's for sure.
No, it definitely wasn't pink shorts.
Not with kiwis on them. It is, but like, you look from the outside, right, Nick, and you see what he's doing with concrete and kind of the image and what he's able to do in the following and everything else, and it's very different in our country, where, like, right now you're being kind of a steward for that craft, for that industry, and you could tell that you have a massive passion for it. And I'm sure that there are contractors in the States that are doing the type of architectural concrete that you're doing that have a passion for it. But I think for the most part, like, you look around and it's grueling work. Your kind of efficiency is based on temperature, weather, schedule. Everyone wants you here yesterday. You're always like behind the eight ball and there's so much pressure on you. And it's like, why would I want my kids to be involved with this, but to have a business and be busy enough and make enough money and happy and content enough with what you're doing to be like, yeah, I would love my kids to get into the concrete trade. Like that's probably few and far between over here.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I get it too, and it isn't for everyone. It takes a certain person. It takes a certain person to be a carpenter. It takes a certain person to be a concreter. There are people. There's no way I could ever do plumbing, for example, because I'm no good in like trenches and getting under houses or getting in roofs. And same with electricity. It's like scares the hell out of me. I've been zapped before. I don't want to go anywhere near it. So there's certain jobs that I just couldn't do, and those guys would look at me and go, "Well, there's no way I could do what you do either." So it is something for everyone, and it's definitely not for everyone.
And obviously with like educating, like you're doing such something so good for your craft is like you're giving people the opportunity to learn from you. But what is like, how does that evolve, and then how does that evolve your business as well? Where it's like, I assume you become more selective with the projects that you take on off site, but are you building this core structure to basically replace the need to go out and bust your ass for a client?
I think I just really want to build a better industry. Concrete is, they don't have a good name here in Australia generally. But it's more this architectural concrete thing has only surfaced in the last sort of 5-10 years or so here in Australia, and if I can be a big part of teaching people how to do it well, rather than people going out and ballsing up jobs basically, because you do get the one shot at it. It's more, if I can be there to help, then that's a nice little legacy to sort of leave behind as well, is just sort of being one of the people who sort of helped a lot of these guys either start up or just be better in their chosen craft.
So that being said, and kind of establishing your business and coming out of high school and getting into this, and what the future generation of your industry looks like, how do you get involved with a trade? Like, what's the infrastructure like in Australia if you wanted to start your own business, or if you wanted to learn the concrete craft? Is there like a formal training put in place? Did you do a formal training? I'm just curious what that kind of looks like.
No, there isn't at all. You don't even need a license in Australia to be a concreter. It's pretty crazy. I know they are sort of starting to change that, but that was one of the things, like you're doing the foundation and stuff for these houses, and it's an unregulated trade. You're basically relying on those independent inspections, to in order to make sure the job's done properly, rather than being able to do it as yourself.
Yeah, and like even with inspectors, they're only able to inspect so much. And I think that's why people have trouble with inspectors. It's just there's accountability and there's liability, and they want to feel at ease as if everything's done right, because they can't see everything. They can't be there the entire time. So you have an unregulated trade, and they're doing their independent testing, but like you can't see everything.
No, that's right, 100%, and no one's going to point out the stuff that they don't want you to see either. So it's
what's under that tarp?
That's right. Yeah, so it is important, but yeah, there's no one teaching it. There's no one. I think if you wanted to be a landscaper or something, you'll go to TAFE, and you might touch on concrete foundations over maybe 2 days, or something like that. But they'll never teach you how to build a letterbox or something out of concrete. It's just not something you can learn.
So are there the probably electrical, plumbing, HVAC, the mechanicals and stuff like that, but are other trades like painting, carpentry, are they regulated trades, or is that the same type of deal as concrete?
No, I think they're regulated trades. It's just a funny one with concrete. I don't understand how it's never um, been a regulated trade. It's and it's not just here in Australia. I think it's with you guys as well. Um, but yeah, it's crazy. Something needs to change there, I think.
Do you think that that devalues for a lot, not necessarily what you're doing now, because I would assume you got into what you're doing to kind of get away from that, but does the unregulation kind of devalue what people are willing to pay for concrete work?
I'm not too sure if it's willing to pay. It's more so the fact that there's a lot of rogues. Like there's a lot of guys in there that are doing it as cheap as possible, like cutting corners, and it makes it very difficult. And that's what I found was because I was going the extra mile doing that sort of stuff. I was putting in thicker Rio. I was putting in higher strength concrete. But there were guys in there that were just like rocking up, putting in really inferior grade concrete, thin Rio, and winning the work. Because a lot of the time people just, you get what you pay for. That's the thing. You get what you pay for, and you want cheap work, then, it's not going to last as well. That's why I was banging my head against a wall for years because of this. It was, some people got it, but yeah, most of the general public, they just want the cheapest price. They just want the cheapest guy to do it, and they'll deal with it later.
And that's something that we all battle with, and specifically concrete. I think about, a recent foundation that we did had a ton of steel in it. And, and I've seen foundations for homes go in around here with full basements, no rebar in the walls, zero. And,
Wow.
and that's like, and it will happen, and it'll be quote unquote fine. But I remember the house that we're building right now, a lot of corners, but the steel, like there was a ton of steel. And, YouTube, all the comments, oh, you're overbuilding this thing just to charge your client more money, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, whatever. But I had a conversation with my concrete guy on site, and he's like, dude, this is the most steel I've ever put into a foundation. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, dude, did you see the corners around the windows? I'm like, no. And he goes, I got to show you a picture. I took a picture of it before I put the form up. So shows me a picture. He goes, I don't really get it. We've never put that much steel around the windows, but every window I've built has cracked. And he he literally said it out loud. And I looked at him and I laughed. And he goes, yeah, forget it. I guess there's probably a good reason they did. They probably didn't want it to crack. I'm like, yeah.
Was it the architect who spec'd all that?
The engineer. Yeah.
And is it a local engineer?
It is. They are a commercial engineer. So, I mean, did we overbuild the foundation? No. Could we have built it at a lesser quality? Yes. Could we have built it at less than half of what we did by the regulation? Yes. But we're not building a regular house. We're not building the cheapest house. We're building a house that's going to last and not have a cracked window wall that, eventually leaks, right? And it was just, and it's the same thing. It's like you battle up against, like, yeah, we could have done that foundation for $70,000 less, but, and at face value, or to the client's knowledge, it would have been no different. And this is where
they can't see it. Yeah.
Right, they can't see it. They're like, oh, concrete. It's a wall. It holds my house up. It holds my house up. And, and that's where it's like this side of education where it's like, yeah, you're teaching. This is what I love about social media specifically, is that and beyond your course, but like you're sharing your process and you're showing what it takes to do good work and the work right, where they start, like you said in the beginning of this podcast, is like when a client sees the amount of time that goes into the form work and the prep work before concrete even shows up, that's the moment that they see why it's so expensive. And it's hard to get them to see that before they pay, right? Like you're
100%. Yeah.
you're obviously contracted at the time you're putting formwork in, so like they have a hard time get understanding it, and then when you're 50% of the way done with the job, they're like, oh, now I get it. And
Yeah.
the opportunity with social media is, hey, I'm going to be able to showcase this all the way leading up to that initial call, where it's like you're probably getting calls saying, dude, I see the work that you're putting in. I see you burnishing that edge. I see you troweling this stuff for hours on end. And it's like, that's so much work. Like, I understand what you're doing. Oh, it's, you know, it's 10x how much I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I get it. Like, the value's there because I'm seeing your product not only in the final result and it's beautiful, but in the process and understanding that you're doing it at such a high quality.
Yeah, that's right. And again, it's not cutting corners with materials and stuff either. It's using, you know, every time it's brand new form ply sheets. You know, it's not like reusing stuff and you know, using cheap timber. It's all LVL, so it's all going to be, you know, straight, you know, no bends, any of that sort of stuff. Yeah, yeah. For years, I just put up finished pictures on my Instagram because it looked pretty. And now it's the complete opposite. Our Instagram just looks like a jumbled mess. But each little bit is a little part of the puzzle to get to that beautiful finished picture. Because I just feel like so many people are overseeing that. They want to see the process. They want to see how stuff gets built and what it looks like before. You know, it's all good to see an after picture, but it's you want to see stuff like in the process. I know that's what I love watching as well. I love seeing stuff getting built. You know, craftsmen just like whittling bits of timber and turning it into this amazing chessboard or something. And it's, yeah, I mean, I'm hooked on those sorts of videos too. So I get it. I get why people love it.
I mean, I think that's the differentiator there as well, not only for people who are looking at this content as a source of pleasure or to gain some insight or experience, but for customers, for architects, for engineers, for potential customers, where, like Nick said, you know, you're showing them the behind the scenes that placing the concrete isn't necessarily the hardest part. It's all the prep work and ensuring that everything's right, and new LVL and, you know, new form work to ensure that your product is your product. And that's the differentiator there that's going to separate yourself from a lot of the other guys and girls who are doing concrete. So I think that it also serves that purpose as well. I don't know what your market is necessarily, but I think that a lot of times if you're in a market or kind of pushing the boundaries in a market where people are price shopping, or it's a more price driven market and you're kind of doing above and beyond what other people are doing, you have to be able to validate what you're doing oftentimes to customers. And instead of having that conversation with every single customer, it's like, if you want to see what we do and why we're a third higher or 2 times higher than somebody else, just go check this out. Like, here's what we do, and this should be pretty self-explanatory at that point.
Yeah, it's so true. And then I've got a lot of people now and clients and builders and things that are, you know, they're actually getting it now as well. They are watching the videos, they are seeing what's involved, and it's really good. It's helped my business to start showing the process of it all, rather than just these beautiful finished pictures, you know, at the end, which are great. But yeah, it's showing the process, and you know, you'll see in some of the videos and things like the amount of formwork that's there before it becomes that finished piece is it's pretty intense.
I mean, I think that also for most people, like, to create that allure and to draw people in to get excited about the process, like that's truly appreciating the craft. You can appreciate any finished piece of art, any, you know, walk through a finished house and this is beautiful, but to create excitement about the process of concrete, now where you have the designer, the homeowners coming over to see the process, like that's when you're truly, it's a success. Like, that's when you're doing good things for the industry, for the trade, because it's very exciting to show a finished picture of something that was done well, and like people get excited about that. But to have people really be invigorated for the process of concrete, like that's something special.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it is, and it's not something I really thought about too much until we started seeing a lot of traction with some of these reels, and it's like it's so true. People just want to see the process.
Yeah, like Nick's
It's
plaster guy. Like, yeah, I'd love to see their finished house, but like what I really want, I want to come see you do it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want to see.
It's just like, I mean, there's so many, there's so much opportunity with sharing the process, and like you said, Tyler, it's you're doing it for the better of the industry, and you're getting the homeowners and the interior designers to like actually appreciate the process and see it, and whether they're doing that live or through social. Like, this is why we've been such an advocate for social media, and and for a lot of time, and a lot of these episodes we kind of go down these rabbit holes of it, but the opportunity to create, again, it's like, to speak specifically to your course, that course is doing so many things for you. It's giving you the opportunity to train people that could come work for you. It's giving you the opportunity to better the industry. It's giving the opportunity to train or to educate future clients of yours. And it's giving you the opportunity to make more money without having to go bust your ass every single day. And that last piece right there is why, or is something that I think so many people struggle with. And we talked about this a couple episodes ago, where it's like most people, all of us included at some point, only made money for each hour that we worked. Meaning the only time we made money is if we went out and worked for an hour and then got paid an hourly rate. And that is the general population, and including people that work for me. And I think about this constantly, where it's like I'm constantly looking at opportunity for me to make money and invest in something. I don't mean stocks or real estate, like just invest in something. And a lot of my time is invested into education, like educating myself, right? And there is and being able to turn that around and flip that into like, let me help someone else, like let me teach someone else. There's opportunity to make money beyond just trading your time. And I know that that's like a big reason why you're doing the course. And the reason I'm talking about it so much is that I want people to understand, like people that are listening to this, realize that, the skill set that they have, as elementary as it may seem to them, there are people out there that don't know how to do that. And I mean that in the most elementary way possible, to the point of like, there's the joke about like, oh, he couldn't even change a light bulb. I have met people firsthand that don't know how to change a light bulb. And while that seems like it's funny at face,
why are you looking at me like that?
It's just where my camera is, man. But it's like at first, like like for what it's worth, like that seems funny. But not that they're gonna go take a course on like how to change a light bulb, but they might go Google and YouTube like how to change a light bulb. Or like, hey, how do I change the lamp in my headlight on my truck? Like, even, someone who I've worked on cars my whole life, I'm still YouTubing how to take a headlight out because I don't want to break the thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
And my point here is that the opportunity to share a process, as elementary as it may be, can also be the opportunity for, we can use the buzzword, create financial freedom, right? Where it's like you're taking an opportunity to educate something that you put a lot of value behind. I mean a lot of time behind, which means it's valuable. You've spent years and years, 20 plus years, perfecting or not perfecting, but becoming great at concrete. And now here's your opportunity to kind of package 20 years of doing it right and wrong into a course that someone can jump right into, building floating stairs, which arguably, in my neck of the woods, is a very hard detail to do, and it would be very hard to find someone to be comfortable to do it. Where for, I think it's like a couple $1,000, they can take your course and know exactly how to do it because you have went through the trial and error for years and have packaged and put it together like that.
it's something I do get a lot of DMs and things, and man, I could show you some absolute horror stories of people who have gone, oh, I saw you doing the course, but I thought I'd just give it a go myself. And it is like, oh, it's enough to make an onion cry. It is horrendous. And I feel sorry for these people because they've just thought that, oh, it can't be that hard. And yeah, they've just learnt the hard way, and that's the whole reason this course is here. You don't have to learn the hard way. You can learn the way that I've perfected and works and get good results and have people really happy about it, as opposed to, yeah, I can do it, and then do it and your client's going, what the hell have we just signed up for? Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
So what do you, I know our take on it, but to all the people, you're in a different market than us. I'm just interested to hear your take to the people who say you're just giving away all of these trade secrets through Instagram to your competition. Like, what's your stance on that?
I was big on hiding even guys that were working for me. I'm like, don't you dare take photos of, the tools I'm using, putting them on your social media and all that sort of stuff. I was doing that for years.
It's like Concrete Fight Club.
Yeah. But even it was just more, I didn't want to give it away. I was like, it spent too long. Like, I figured that stuff out and my technique and things. And I'm like, I just couldn't give it away, And the thing is, I had guys come and work for me. They'd do 6 months and then they'd go out and they'd start their own, architectural concrete business thing too. I mean, it's the story of all our lives. We'll all have someone working for us that goes, all right, cool, wicked. Now I'll just go and do it on my own. I get it, but at the same time, it wasn't making me any money. If anything, it was they were sort of being the guys that could do it a little bit cheaper and undercut, and then go down that path. And I thought, well, I'm better off just teaching it. I'm better off open up all the doors, let everyone in, see the process, and I've never really looked back, to be honest. I do love helping people and doing this sort of thing to better the industry. So it's really rewarding now.
See, the other thing about that I've thought about in depth is that the reason you discovered all of these techniques and the right tools to use, that's your personality, right? You want to create a certain product. You have a certain standard, and you're not willing to settle for much less than that. So you have these other people who you're going to let in on that process, and they didn't go through all of the pain to kind of achieve the level of finish that you have. So even if they do go off on your own, unless they're willing to work as hard as you did to find that stuff out in the first place, they're not going to really take it to the next level. Like, they're not going to continually hunt and strive to do better and to push the bounds. And maybe they leave with that, or they leave with those tools, but they're not really going to take it much further. So for me, if there is somebody who's going to walk away from you and take that and really push it to the next level, like, good for them. They should, because realistically there's a cap on where they're going to be for me. But I do think that most of the people who leave and they think it's a shortcut and they're going to start their own company, like in a couple years, it's not going to work out. They're going to be back in the same boat, and they're going to be looking for another kind of shortcut or a quick fix to this industry, or to get rich quick, and it just doesn't work that way.
No, you've nailed it. It's exactly right. There's certain types of people, and look, I've seen some guys go and they are doing quite well, but most of them all just go to the ladder there, and they'll just look for the next opportunity to sort of try and learn something else and go from there. But it's
they think that this secret to the concrete business is those couple of tools and 5 techniques that you showed them, and they don't realize like everything else that goes into being in business.
Yeah, which we know is so much more than. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
so much
that's
more
the
than
easy
going on
part.
tools. I remember when I first got into business, I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm going to have all this free time. I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to go out like 3 days a week. The boat just sat there. So I got used because I was so
Oh, you
busy.
actually bought the boat.
My wife wasn't too happy about it, but she'll never let me live it down either. But you end up getting into business for yourself, and the amount of work you do after hours is crazy
Oh,
compared to just coming in and doing a day's wage and going home. Yeah, it takes a
it's
lot more
also
than
like
people think.
the whole promotion of education and like the whole, rising tide raises all ships mentality. It also is really from the competition perspective, right? Like, you talked about how these guys would go off on their own and start their own business. But the other side of it is, or your competition is hiring those guys away, and they're like, all right, I'll give you a 20% raise increase, and I want all the secrets that Ollie's been hiding. I want to know what he's doing, what he's. It's like, dude, like, here, I'm just gonna give you my playbook, and it's
Yeah,
fun. Like, for me, I've had some serious conversations, and I've had people reach out to me in, I don't want to say a threatening manner, but like in a very angry manner of like, you're sharing stuff that I don't appreciate. And I said, what do you
yeah,
mean? They're like, that's stuff that I've worked my whole life trying to figure out. I'm like, how does this impact you? They're like, you're
yeah,
taking business away from me. I'm like, the guy that's going to go and take what I'm sharing and do it himself was never going to hire you.
yeah.
Like,
Exactly right.
right, he like
It's so true.
the guy that like is going to go try to do it himself was never going to hire you. And
Yeah,
and instead, what if you were to share all this stuff and that guy doesn't hire you? And then finally he gets to a point where he's so frustrated because he can't figure it out. He's going to call the person that taught him. And if that person isn't you, like, that's your choice. And that's
yeah,
where it's like it got to a point where I'm like, if there's going to be if someone's going to ask me a question, I'm going to give him an answer, because if I don't give him an answer, they're going to go find someone else. And ultimately, if I'm sharing this stuff, or if I choose not to share it, someone else is. So here, like, you have two options. You either don't share and you take the role of not being someone that is willing to share this stuff and not become an quote unquote industry professional, or you position yourself like you have as the industry professional, and everyone, when it comes to architectural concrete, they think of Ollie, and it's like, hey, I
yeah,
know who I'm going to call him because he has decided to 100% put all his effort into sharing this stuff. And
yeah.
that's and that's the, in my opinion, and I think that we're seeing this resurgence of it. But it's like, that's what this is all about, like, helping everyone become better, the whole
Yeah,
concrete industry, the whole building industry.
yeah, it's where it's gone now. I think it's at that point now where everything is based around education. Even, you'll see, top chefs now that are just sitting down showing you how to cook meals, and it's, you could eat at their restaurant and cost you an absolute fortune, but they're actually giving you a recipe of how to cook something. It's everywhere now. Education's just such a big part, especially online courses and things. I wasn't going to miss that boat,
Yeah,
because, like you said, if I didn't do it,
someone else
someone
will.
else might have done it, and then, yeah,
It's so funny, the Top Chef thing made me laugh because a video came up. It was like, Gordon Ramsay shows you how to cook the perfect scrambled eggs. I'm like, I'm in. I love eggs. I could eat eggs
oh,
every day of my life watching this video. And I watched the video and I'm like, that's too much work. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, how much
And
work could scrambled eggs be?
watch the video of Gordon Ramsay.
Jeez.
He's
Like,
like,
part of the reason scrambled eggs are good because they're
right?
so easy.
Right? So he cracks the egg into the pan and then scrambles them in the pan. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to put them in. What are you doing? So my point being is, like, there's still gonna be, like, then it's gonna be like that situation where I'll watch your video, right? I'm gonna watch your video on how you make steps. I'm like, man, that's dope. I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna call him. I'm just gonna have him do it. Or like, because like, but I have now, my respect level for you, for Ollie and Hungry Wolf, like, has elevated because you've walked me through the process, and I had the opportunity to learn it and do it myself. But then I realized, wow, this is way more complex, and this is actually even more difficult than I thought. So the value that he presented to me in the proposal actually, seems like a really good deal, because if I screw this up, I'm paying 3x that.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. And like you said, we've said this all morning. It's just too expensive to rip out. You do not
Yeah.
want to be putting this stuff in and
No.
pulling it out and redoing it again. I mean, I don't price my jobs twice, for the one job in case I've got to rip it out.
Yeah.
It's no one's ever going to pay for it if I'm charging twice what it's, what I think it's
Just in
worth. But
case.
just in case, and yeah, the buffer. But it's, I just don't want to go down that path with anyone's go down that path. I don't want to see it happen.
I mean, the sound of chipping guns for like 8 hours a day is just, music.
The few experiences I've had of tearing out concrete have always been, not that like I've torn out my old driveway. It was basically sidewalk, so it's slab, which was all pretty easy. But like the couple times on a job where I ran into concrete that I didn't know was there, like you demo a deck and there's just an old set of cast in place concrete stairs that are like a truckload of concrete that just got poured. And it's a nightmare. It's like the worst experience of my life, where I start questioning everything that I'm doing. And I'm like, this isn't why I got into this industry. It's terrible.
Yeah. Agreed.
My high school professor, my college professor told this story about, we were talking about concrete, and at the point he was talking about how, concrete water continues to make concrete harder and harder and harder. And he told me about this guy he knew that ran a demo company, and he bid the demolition of a car wash, and he had to cut the slab up in the car wash. And I don't remember like the whole story or why he was telling it, but basically the guy was like, I got screwed on that job. I went through 10 times the amount of blades because the concrete was so hard. He goes, yeah, because it's been sitting underwater for the last 25 years. And the concrete just continued to get harder and harder and harder.
Crazy.
But it's like, it's like that situation where it's like, oh, it's just a slab. I just got to cut it up and pick it up with a bobcat and get rid of it. It's like, did you take into consideration that it's just really freaking hard now?
Oh, and like you said earlier, you can't see the steel that's in it. It might not have any in it, but it may have a heap. So when it comes to getting rid of it, when it's full of steel, you know how hard it can be. It's less you cut through it. It's a nightmare.
Ollie, so beyond the digital courses and beyond adding additional courses, and obviously I assume you want to build up this library of like start to finish, basically here's how you start a career in concrete all the way to super complex curved cantilevering homes or something like that, right? Is there the thought of building education beyond the digital side, meaning like in-person events? What's big picture?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I would love to do that. It's one of those things that people are going to always gain so much more if they're with you, or if I'm with them. I would love to do that down the track. At this stage with young family, it may be a bit difficult, but I would definitely entertain it. I think it's a great way of doing it. Because that way you can get so many more people involved at once, and everyone can have a turn at doing something, and really get hands-on. You learn a lot more in person than you do on a video, I feel, as well, because you actually get the real time of when it's setting and things like that. You know, you were saying earlier, it's when do I strip it? I don't know when to take that form work off, you know. That, for example, is real time. So, which is very hard to do when we're doing the course, because no one's going to sit there and watch concrete dry for, you know, a couple of hours.
Right. Or you put a time lapse on it, and it speeds up, and it shows like, okay, that was 2 hours, but then it's like, what should I be doing in those 2 hours?
Yeah, that's right.
And I mean,
that's
that
exactly
seriously,
right.
like, should I be prepping for something? Should I be cleaning up? Should I be probing the concrete? Like that, those are the things that you don't really learn until you're doing it live. And you know, like you said, it's to run that video nonstop. You know, yeah, it could be a video, and then all of a sudden you're sweeping for 2 hours. But you know, that's why the in person makes way more sense.
Yeah. There's also nowhere to hide too. You know, when things go wrong, it goes back to that part where it's like, well, I've been here before. I've seen this problem. So this is how I fix it. Because, you know, in an ideal world, everything runs like a clockwork. So yeah, it's more, I think I'll do a few more little videos and bits and pieces of actually when things do go wrong, how to fix it. Yeah, you've already just given me some ideas for doing something like that. So that's great.
I think, I mean, those real world experiences, like you talking about pulling the form off and it pulls a chunk of concrete out, you know, I'm that person that would have no idea what to do in that situation. And you're like, oh no, I'm going
to rent a jackhammer.
I gotta chip this out before it dries.
I mean, it all comes down to timing, and that is half the reason why I started getting into this removing of the formwork and troweling it. It was like I didn't want to come back the next day after I'd spent the day doing that work anyway, only to pull it off and have, you know, a section that didn't get vibrated properly, or something like that, where it just didn't work out right. There was too many air bubbles and things so it was taking that off. It just totally eliminated that whole factor of coming back and something being wrong. Yeah, it's a lot harder on the day to pull all that formwork off and trowel it all up, but it's half the reason I got the name that I've got and the business that I've got, is because I was willing to do that. I was willing to go that extra mile to give a really good finish. And that's sort of, that's where it all took off. It was just starting by not just filling up your mold and troweling the top. It was deconstructing that whole mold and troweling every visible surface on the day you pour it. That's sort of how it all got. That's how it all, you know, became what it is.
Yeah, I like I said before, I feel like I am so enamored by people who do concrete and like the skill that it takes and the wherewithal as to what's going on, and just, I don't know, I feel like it takes massive balls to do it. And the fact that you just kind of happened into it at the grocery store one day, and you've taken business kind of from doing slab work and traveling and kind of, I'm sure, looking for being a price-based contractor to figuring out how I can get out of this, right? And now you're doing super high-end work, and then it's not, hey, this is good, like I can sustain this. I have a good team around me. I've scaled back. I'm making money. I'm profitable. I'm minimizing my mistakes. But now it's like, hey, let's try and educate as much as we can. Which obviously for Nick and myself, that's a point that's very close to home. So if there's anything that we can do on that end to help you, you know, just continually grow with respect to your teaching and getting the word out there, and kind of, like I said before, being a steward for the concrete industry, let us know what we can do to help out. Because I think, again, I'm not familiar with your area and your market, but around here we could definitely use some personalities like that to kind of be an advocate for that trade, and expose people to how much fun it can be and the opportunity and what the potential for the concrete trade.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really nice to hear. It's yeah, I'm just getting so much satisfaction out of it. The opportunity to talk to you guys as well has been massive. It's huge, and to get that reach into America as well. Maybe I might just have to come over and build a barbecue bench or something for you guys.
No, I want to come down there. I've been trying to get to Australia for like 2 years or 3 years now. So
Well, when you're here, you hit me up, and we'll
right.
sort something out for sure.
Just gotta make sure you have shorts for us.
Oh, I have some shorts.
Oh yeah. I'll get you some. I'll get you some shorts. Don't worry about that.
Ollie, I appreciate this, man. I appreciate you taking the time this morning. I'm sure you got a busy day ahead of you with the sun rising behind you, but this was awesome, and like Tyler said, we're here to continue to advocate for what you're doing, and we'll certainly be keeping in touch and in tune with what you got going on.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, Tyler and Nick. It's been awesome. So yeah, I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
For sure. Good luck with everything. I know you're getting your day started. Nick and I are winding down.
Yeah, that's right.
Here.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
You can
Hold on. So Ollie, before you go,
you remembered.
I did. I just want. We've been switching up our intro for the Modern Craftsman.
When we remember.
When we're trying to do a better job. Remember. So real quick. Just need we'll move this to the beginning of the podcast, but we're gonna shut up for a minute and you just introduce yourself. Tyler just disappeared. You're gonna introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Ollie, like however you want. You're listening to the Modern Craftsman podcast, and today we're gonna talk about blah blah blah.
I feel like it's easier if I'm not like sitting here grilling him while he's doing
awesome.
it.
If I'm just like this.
Yeah.
All right.
Ready?
Hey, it's Ollie here from Hungry Wolf Studio, and you're tuning in to the Modern Podcast. Today, we're going to talk all things concrete and how...
Sorry, cut you off. Modern Craftsman. You said Modern Podcast. That's okay. We got to get some of those shorts, brother.
Dude, you're telling me.
I had a pair.
I think I could pull them off.
I think that I don't know who makes them. I got some, they're called Chubbies.
Yeah.
And they were pink, and I had flamingos on mine. But I left them in grease.
Could you imagine if you wore them on a YouTube video? You would get shredded.
I should do it.
Oh my God, you would get torn apart.
I'm going to do it without and then wear my white Converse.
No, you should do it and do the whole thing and then just have Doug pan out at the end. Just you wearing the, like, just do the whole thing like normal and then all of a sudden just like pan out.
I might do it.
Yeah, maybe like drop something.
What if that's what makes me go viral?
It could be.
It could be.
I mean, I feel like you're already viral.
No. We're close.
Soon.
Maybe.
Soon.
It's the shorts.
Yeah, dude. That's the catalyst for this.
It's funny. I just rewrote
This is the impetus.
I just rewrote our handbook. Yes, we have a handbook. But I finally had my lawyer do it because I had she read it and she goes, Nick, you got a lot of stuff in here that's like not really lawfully written.
Yeah.
I was like, wonderful, let's just redo it. But I added shorts because all my guys for years now have like, can we wear shorts? Can we wear shorts? And I just said no.
Mm-hmm.
So now I added like, if it's safe to do so, you can wear shorts.
Did you spec out an inseam length that was required? Maximum and minimum?
Maximum 6 inches.
It has to be between this range.
That's actually, you know what? I should probably specify that because they should all be the same. I don't want shorts like in the middle of the shin, you know?
Yeah, like long short pants or long shorts.
Yeah. I feel like Ken would wear long shorts.
Do you?
I don't know. He doesn't wear shorts. He showed up to the beach in jeans.
I actually think I saw him in shorts on like one of his hiking videos, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
I didn't know this.
Sorry, Ken. But yeah, so now I can wear shorts on the job site.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Dude, this is it.
I have to wear work boots.
Oh.
Yeah. I wrote sneakers are okay in finished home. Walking into a finished home with sneakers and 7-inch pink inseam shorts.
I mean, work boots and 7-inch pink inseam shorts is going to be.
I would look like an Aussie.
Yeah. You'd look legit.
Yeah.
I think you should do it.
Okay.
But like loggers with the big heel.
Dude, so I ordered those Nick work boots.
Yeah.
The custom. Dude, 6 months.
Really? Because of like...
They're made. They're all made to order. They have stuff in stock. And I was like, oh, it's 12 weeks. And then I checked the other day. It's like, oh, no. They revised that. It's 6 months.
Oh, my... Are they that busy with them?
Like, dude, their Instagram is amazing. Like, it's so cool to watch the process of making them. But I guess, yeah, I emailed them. And they were like, yeah, we will not give you a date until they go into production. We're going in order that they are ordered. It's crazy. I was going to say something before that. Shorts, boots. What the hell was I going to say?
The handbook?
No, you had said something about
Doug panning out to you and...
No, after that it was like you said something about... I said I would look like an Aussie, and you were like, oh, you look legit. I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm looking up Nick's boots now.
They're cool.
I actually used to follow like somebody who repaired old boots.
Oh, yeah.
It was like an Instagram follow.
Yeah, so they have videos of them ripping off the soles of
their boots. It's super cool.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So whoever's listening to this podcast, one of you guys decided to send me a meme of the bunny ears, which I've seen before. But I just want to let you know I appreciate you listening to the podcast that in depth that you also can make fun of me for not knowing how to tie my shoes or my work boots for
that was so fun. I think John Marley sent that to me a while ago. Oh, man. But it was way better this time now that I had like
someone to relate to. So yeah, there's that. Well, guys, as always, make sure you check us out on Instagram. There's a chance to get some swag. We haven't actually been reading that, so why don't I pull that up, see what we got on.
Yeah, this is sick. I'm watching right now how they use basically like a compass to lay out the eyelets, the holes for the laces. Yeah. Yeah, this is the stuff that's cool to me when people do leather work like this. I enjoy. For me, this is again. It's what we just spoke about. It's the process. Like I can enjoy a nice pair of boots. Yeah, they're cool. But like you're going to enjoy these boots so much more now that you understand the process of how they're being made.
That's exactly like, dude. This
and that they have your name.
It's. I know. It's not. This is not a sponsor at all. But like that's exactly it. It's like I wouldn't have ordered them if I didn't follow them. Like I would be like, oh man. Like I mean, they're not super expensive, but they're more expensive than a traditional work boot. But when you start seeing the value of like, oh my god, like these these are handmade, like this is really cool. And finally I was like, all right, I gotta get a pair. But yeah, it's super cool. They're not a sponsor, but we should reach out to them. And yeah, I also did not order them because their name is Nick, but just a nice bonus there.
Yeah, maybe reach out to them, see if you can get them quicker.
Hey, I'll mention.
I hope my feet are still the same size by the time these things come in.
I will mention you on episode 233 of the Modern Craftsman podcast if you can get these into production. Speaking of swag, I'm going to pick a random one here. It says, love it. I could listen to the soothing voices of Nick and Tyler for hours, but I sure do miss a good cup of Johnny. Unfortunate. Also, I'm not writing this review for free swag, but I wear an extra large. So Maplecraft, shoot us a DM on Instagram with your, we have your size XL, but include your size as well as your address. We'll get you some swag out there, and we'll go from there.
I actually had a dream last night that like John was on the podcast, and I was like, oh man, I forgot about him. I missed him. It was crazy. I forgot that I had that dream until like you just said that. But I definitely had that dream last night.
Dreams are so funny. I woke Marley up this morning for school, and she opened her eyes. She goes, whoa, that was so fun. I was like, what? She goes, flying. I was like,
that's sick.
Were you dreaming that you were flying? She goes, Daddy, it wasn't a dream. I was like,
all right, you're creeping me out now.
I was like, you are still sleeping.
Yeah.
But, well, As always, big thanks to our sponsors, Duration Molding and Millwork, and Rockwell. We'll see you guys next week.